authenticity is something that could just easily lack very quickly. And I think the moment that you break that authenticity, that's a huge negative for any kind of experience.
Pros and cons.
Welcome to Pros and Cons, Engagement Unplugged. I'm Laura Smith.
And I'm Brian Rowley.
Today, we're pulling back the curtain on what experience really means. Is it substance or just a flashy buzzword? And are digital elements enhancing in-person activations or just getting in the way? We have a special guest joining us today, someone who's been shaping brand experiences since before most brands knew what that even meant. They've made a career of creating activations that pull people into new worlds. Today, they're here to help us separate the meaningful from the meaningless.
I think most importantly, before we dive into that, let's have a little bit of fun. I think we should kick this off a little bit by doing, I think, Laura, you and I talked a little bit about this, our marketing wins and fails, right? And looking at sort of those marketing moments that made us say, wow, that's actually really cool, or what the hell were they thinking?
Marketing wins and fails.
So in the spirit of today's episode, we're going to zero in on a couple of what we, I guess, would say were so-called, Laura, immersive experiences. I mean, if you can even call them that, right? But things that we thought were either like what we think is immersive or things that we were like, that really didn't work. Before we do that, I know for me, the one that really stuck out for me, and I know you were a part of this, was last year at InfoComm, we went to the Sphere in Vegas. And that to me was sort of the ideal of what an immersive experience is all about, right? Because I think what was cool was we walked into it, both of us, and I don't want to speak for you, but I'm going to for a second. When we walked in, it was like, okay, that's really cool. It's a big screen. But I think when we sat down and they started to show that, I think postcards from Earth is what we saw.
Yeah.
We were like, oh my God, like they touched everything.
Well, it was also the sensory experience, right? It was all about the movement, the smells, the feeling of air. Like it was just, yeah, I definitely had my nose up to it a little bit of like, how good is this going to be? And I heard most people have gone to concerts there. So I'm thinking that might be really cool. But this Earth thing, maybe not. But it was unbelievable. It was the definition of an immersive experience. It was awesome.
Yeah, because I remember we were like sitting there and at one point you were like, am I actually smelling like the scent of a city, like when they were going through that? And we were just like, I think we really are. And then It was like there was a mist at one point. And I mean, it was just such a cool experience. So for me, that was a really big win. I know because when we were prepping for this, you had a very strong, let's say, feeling about a fail. Why don't you share that?
Yes. I don't know if you all remember this, but last year in February 2024, there was this Willy Wonka immersive experience in Glasgow, Scotland. Now, people bought tickets for like almost $50. People, these kids were so excited to go this immersive experience. If you think about it, I mean, everyone loves Willy Wonka. It's such like a cool movie to watch with all the candy and everything's flowing through the streets and whatever else. And people expected it to be really, really immersive. It was a joke. I mean, I wish we could show you pictures here. Google it.
It was bad.
It's so bad. It was like a blow up balloon and an archway. And the actors even who got there were appalled that this is what they had to do. So it was just such a fail. And so obviously they shut it down midway through the day. So they didn't even complete it. And then supposedly they were giving money back, but I'm not sure if they ever did. But it's like, I don't know how anyone would even sell that as an immersive experience. And people were really, really ticked off. So I think
we do believe they did the right thing, whatever that was. Let's just add our little disclaimer in there, right?
by shutting it down.
And refunding money, let's just be clear. But I do think it was in like a warehouse, right? Like it wasn't like anything really.
Creepy warehouse. So it was just, you can't say this is an immersive experience and then produce that. So that's definitely a fail and obviously got a ton of press around it. So those are two basically polarizing experiences, which is a great segue into
the bigger picture.
The bigger picture about experiences.
And I think the bigger picture is really about what really makes an experience worthy almost, right? Like, so in today's conversation, we're going to get into the heart of the meaning behind experience, because honestly, it is a word that we hear constantly. It's in brand campaigns. It's at every industry event. But I guess, what does it actually mean to create an immersive experience? And I guess I would say, and ask the question, is it real or is it a term that's somewhat losing its edge? Laura, we had a similar conversations around like solutions, right? When solutions first hit. And I just thought that it was something that was completely overused. So I think we'll dig in today to find out, like, is this whole experience thing taking a similar path? I hope not. But as we look at this, we'll sort of unpack a lot of that. And we've got someone today who's here, who's been living and breathing sort of experience design for more than 20 years. And he's helped ourselves at BrightSign, as well as other brands, sort of create and turn ideas into actual environments. So welcome to the show, Bryan Meszaros, who is the CEO and founder of OpenEye Global. And he actually is here to explore with us sort of what it means to create these customer activations that are truly immersive. Bryan, so happy to have you.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here. I'm just loving the banter already. I'm like,
Bryan,
this is my experience.
Laura and I, you know what it's going to be.
I mean, this is right. We are who we are, so we're bringing it live on a podcast.
I love it. This is the great experience. So
here we go. Okay, Bryan, let's dig in. So you've spent your career designing experiences. What does that term really mean to you? Experience. I'm putting in quotes, air quotes. Experience.
Yeah, it's such a broad word too. I mean, it encompasses so much. But I think for me, it's experience is creating a unique moment that someone feels emotionally connected to. That is something that is memorable. That resonates with you long past the experience. But I think it allows you to recognize the moment that you're in and feel some type of connection to what you're visualizing or interacting with in a space.
So what would be an example of something that someone might call an experience that really isn't? Because we overuse the word.
We do.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of brands and environments that will, put in displays and throw up flashy content and call that an experience. And I think it's misleading. It might be, visually gratifying. It maybe conveys some type of information that helps them better understand about maybe what they're selling or information. But I don't call that an experience. I call that a misuse of the word. It's just good information that's relative to you, where the point of engagement is at. But I wouldn't call that an experience. I think it's just missing, there's no emotional connection. There's no storytelling element. There's no change of behavior. Just to put content on the screen, it's fine. I mean, it serves a purpose, but to call it experiential or call it an experience, I think it's just wrong. It's just wrong.
Bryan, are there any trends that you're seeing? Like, I mean, you guys are designing those immersive activations, right? You're doing it for us. You've done a lot of work for us as an organization. And it's amazing because, I do believe that we all are storytellers, especially when it comes to things like shows and events. Like, what's the story that brand is trying to communicate? So what are some of the trends that you're seeing that are actually working?
Yeah, I think a couple that I've been fond of and we've been trying to incorporate. I love this idea of passive engagement, to where you are using sensors or just your action through a space that's triggering something to unfold on a display, to where it's taking a behavior that is already sort of natural, but that's triggering some type of action to take place. It creates this sort of unique sort of engagement that is unknowingly and it unfolds. I just love the use in sensors just in general, just because they're so more impactful versus you touching the screen. We're so used to touching the screen that does that really resonate? Does that do anything? And I feel there's such great technology coming out that is enabling that ability to just interact or even have these like textile interactions. Like, I love when you just pick up something and that triggers, but you get to feel like, if you think of like in retail, like merchandising, you pick up a shoe or pick up a product, and for that to react to that and tell you information about it, that just creates this sort of nice, strong kind of engagement and experience too. Because I think you don't expect that kind of reaction to happen. You expect what's going to happen if you touch a screen. An action will take place, but you don't necessarily expect something to happen if you picked up an inanimate object that has no digital element to it. So I love that. I love the the evolution of where we're seeing AI. I know that's, talk about buzzwords.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
that has been thrown around, and I don't think anyone really quite knows just yet where it goes or what to do with it. But I love the idea that, AI is helping to serve or deliver or alter content based upon conditions in a space. Like it's allowing those moments to be, controlled but unfold unknowingly just because of data that it's seeing. So I love where that kind of plays into it. And we've been seeing too. I mean, we have a couple of projects we're starting to work on where, I think, AR is starting to come back into the fold too, on another unique way of telling a story. But it's done in a way to where I feel like there's so many. It's another buzzword. I feel like there's so many cheesy iterations of it, and I get nightmares of Snapchat vibes, and you're trying to like circumvent that and tell a story without it getting to that point. So it's, I think that's something else that I see as a trend that is happening. And also I think the last part too, I mean, it's just, there's so many unique ways of telling a story on a canvas. It's so many different display technologies and creative ways of integrating it that is just opening up. So I think you take this innovation on display side, the innovation on how you generate and create content and use sensors and other triggers and environment, like that all is just like a good recipe for crafting an experience.
Yeah, one of the things that I actually really like is, and this was, I forget, I was at I forget the event that I was at, but it actually was, someone had said, with some of the technology that's out there today, anything can be your canvas. And you look at what people are doing with projection. You look at what we're doing, right, at Bright Sign, right, with digital signage. I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's taking an expected scenario and creating an unexpected moment in that actually is the thing that actually creates that wow factor.
I love how you kind of said that, the unexpected moment.
Yeah.
I think that's what anyone that's creating an experience is striving for. It's just delivering that unexpected moment. It's playing up to it, and it's setting it up for that. And then that's what creates that experience. That creates that connection. And I think that is more of what an experience should be, is designing to create that unexpected moment or that unexpected connection that really resonates with someone. And then it's just not, it's not just retail. You see that a lot in museum and exhibit designs. You see that even in certain transportation hubs too. I mean, airports are trying to deliver some of those moments to ease the pain of going through that whole process. And I think that's really where experience shines, in that. And also too, I think there's this other part too, where it's like, it doesn't have to be, experience doesn't always have to be driven entirely by technology too. Like sometimes the technology can be the background hero. It plays to the story, it does its job when it needs to, and you at the end are still experiencing that environment just through normal behaviors up until the point where the technology comes out and, it adds that connected moment. So I think there's that part too, like balancing the both. Like you can kill an environment by just overdoing it, or you can really play it out nicely. I know, Laura, you were talking about the sphere. I think the sphere is kind of like, it's a good example. I mean, it's obviously the technology is the hero, but I think it's I don't want to say it's subtle because it's obviously in your face all around to it, but they do a good job of balancing between the visuals, and especially when there's a concert, of the musical act tying into the visuals.
Right. And I think as a consumer, I don't know if people are thinking of it as technology, because because we live in the world of technology, right? We think of that and we're always intrigued by that, interested in it. But I don't know if everyday consumer really thinks that's an experience for them, and they're just having all the emotions and the sensory, experience that matters to them. But I guess that's a good segue, because do you see the technology as a tool, or do you see it as playing a different role into creating these experiences? Like, is it like a tool in your toolkit, or is it bigger than that?
It's a good question. I guess in part I see it as like
She stole that question, Brian. That was actually
a good question.
I was going to ask.
It was a great segue.
Was that set up for you?
It's called being a professional podcaster.
Oh, snap.
Segue seamlessly into the next.
All right.
That was good. Look at that. Wow.
She's tough, Brian. This is
tough.
not easy.
You have to. This is just season 1. Oh wow.
Just wait till we get warmed up.
Episode 2.
Sorry, Laura, back to your question.
My question, yes, Bryan.
I see it as a design element. I always try to say, I think technology needs to be treated as a design element because that way it ties into all these other attributes of the physical environment. But it is also a tool as well. I mean, it's a tool at your disposal to deliver a moment that you find impactful and to deliver something that is unique or some element of that storytelling process. So, I like to always say lead first with designing of the environment, thinking where the technology fits in as a design element, and then use it as a tool to really deliver that moment that you're trying to accomplish, or that that element of the story, to the audience or the consumer. It's just depending on the environment.
So, Bryan, to that point, who's getting it right? Like, you've worked with a lot, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but you see a lot of things, right? And I'm sure you see some things that are like, oh, okay, we do this every day, and then there's other things that you're like, wow, this is really cool. Who's doing it well?
It's funny. This is really out there. I mean, a year or so ago, you talked about the Sphere. I was at this experience. There's this restaurant in Copenhagen called The Alchemist. And it's like top 5 in the world. And somehow I got a ticket to, my wife and I went to it. And it is this projected dome experience. And the visuals on the dome pair with the food that you're eating. And the food is so theatrical because he's an activist at heart. And so he's giving you food that tells a certain story about, saving of the fish, or like there was one about the inhumane, treatment of those that are producing chocolate, and the chocolate was shaped as a coffin. And on the screen above, it was like just that visual that paired alongside of it. That was a very to an extreme of an experience, but that one that always resonates with me still to this day. And it's 2 years ago. Look, I think ones that are doing it well, I think you have some really good agencies out there that do work on museum exhibit side. There's your Float 4s, your Dimensional Innovations. I mean, those guys also focus on the physical side of it. I think we're doing it good as OpenEye. I think for our storytelling, for some of our projects in the theme entertainment side, I think we cut our chops there, learning how to tell a story, and then been translating that into brand experiences. I think you have some retailers. I know Dick's has been doing some experimenting in there. There's a House of Sport that they're trying to, implement these different points of engagement to tell the story of the product, which I think is kind of interesting. I know Nike's always up there on the pedestal of unique environments. I think where I see a struggle out there is people that consistently try to replicate that through multiple environments. Like retailers struggle on that piece to go across all their stores on experience. Like Nike is really good, but if you go to some of their smaller stores, that same experience doesn't exist. So then then it's like an inconsistency delivery of the brand. Mm-hmm. And we all know there's ways to scale something down. Have a big marker if someone travels and then when they go back to their, their home location, they see a smaller version of it. There's that possibility. But I see a lot of really good themed experiences inside of museums and themed entertainment spaces. Like you talked about Vegas, obviously the Sphere, but Meow Wolf does a really good job of telling a story through a lot of theirs. There's a new one that popped up in Miami, like Sonic. I think it's Sonic Bloom or something. That's a new immersive kind of like an Arctic house that is popped up. Again, a lot of the experiential ones that I gravitate towards obviously lean towards the exhibit design side. Mm-hmm. There were some other ones too, like when we were in Barcelona, there was one that was near my hotel. It was like I forgot what it was. It was like a dome kind of experience that I ended up stumbling into. And I know some of the Gaudi houses too had some stuff down in the basement too by, I'm drawing a blank. I forgot his name. But I don't know, some of those are the ones that kind of resonate with me or as I kind of think about or go out there.
I think the thing that I always struggle with it is when it's sort of a flash in the pan. And I think this is where the word and the term get lost, because there are companies and brands that are committed to it, right? Like they're really all about making sure that it's an amazing experience, right? I think, one that stands out to heart is always Disney, right? Disney does a fantastic job of making sure that that experience from start to finish is always there. And then I think there's others that are out there that try to do that with a moment, but it doesn't feel right, right? Because nothing else that they do is really focused on overall experience, right? So the authenticity part of it becomes like, what are we doing here? Because this just doesn't feel right. And then there's others that really do. So I think it's something that people should be focused on, but I also think you have to keep it in perspective of who you are as a brand.
Yeah, and I think the part you kind of hit on too is authenticity is something that could just easily lack very quickly. And I think Laura goes back to maybe, if you treat technology too much as a tool, I think that's where the authenticity piece fades, because you're relying too much on this, object, a technology display or so to, carry the story, and you're kind of forgetting about the audience. You're forgetting about the consumer. You're forgetting about what they want and what are the attributes of a brand that attracted them to come here or stay loyal to it. And I think the moment that you break that authenticity, that's a huge negative for any kind of experience. Like that's just, you don't want someone leaving to feel that your brand is less authentic.
Right. And I also think it's all about, like, going back to that, like these experiences are created for consumers or end users to obviously engage with a brand or have some type of influence on their decision making, or do they want to engage further? I guess, do we think that works for that purpose? Do you think it's like in some of these experiences that just like the wow factor, like that's really cool? Or do you think that these experiences can and do influence consumer behavior, whether that's to purchase more from a specific place or to go back more often because of that specific experience?
I mean, my honest opinion is I feel like of these experiences, that less than half of them are really designed to try to get people to come back to it. Like in some senses, I feel like every brand is trying to engineer the next great experience, and then they over try that. And they just want to spend money because they just want to put something out there to create a headline. And I think it's more about a brand headline than it is about their own relationship with their customer. And I feel like that's why a lot of these are just unsuccessful, because to be honest with you, I mean, we all know, I mean, some brands just shouldn't do that. That's just not core to them. That's not core to who they are. They don't need that. I mean, they have a different loyalty. They have a different, set of followers that gravitate to it. It's just, and they don't need to show up for it. They don't need to overdo it. There are some that I think do make sense to try to, add some activation or create some noise out there, but do it knowing that who their audience is, so they stay true to the audience. Like, don't try to manufacture a follower for the sake of having a follower. Just play to who knows you already, and give them an opportunity to say, wow, I thought that brand was cool, but wow, this is even cooler. Like, this makes sense to me. I now feel even more, connected to them.
It's all about, I think it goes back to what you said in the beginning. It's about building connections, like driving emotion, like having that be what really is going to resonate. Like, that's really when it comes down to experiences. It's not just, checking the box.
And there's been some, I mean, I say emotional. I mean, there's been some experiences I've gone to where you just feel that emotional connection, coming out of it. You're like, I just witnessed like this. I've gotten chills out of this story, just because it like checked the boxes. It did something to me, and I'm like, wow, I have to do that again, or I have to tell someone about it. And there's been those there's been those retail moments where you've gone in and say, well, that brand just delivered the wow factor, and I have to buy something. There's something unique in there that I just want, or I've gone through an experience and I need to do that again, or I need to take my wife to that. Like, I need to take the fam to that one. It's there's been some, and then there's been some too, like you were kind of rattling off too. I mean, we've all been to ones where you're just like, okay. All right, why am I here?
A lot more of those, right? Like, I think there's a lot more of those. But the other thing that I would say too is, I don't know about you guys, but I always look at things and I'm always like, how did they do that? Like, I'm so intrigued by, like, how did they make this happen, and what are the pieces to it? And then even further, and Bryan, I know you and I have talked about this a million times, right? you experience it at that moment, but then the follow on afterwards continues the experience. That for me is the trigger that's like, okay, wow, they really got this, right? They hit me at the moment in time and then they got me afterwards, and that resonates with me. It always works. And I always buy something if that's the case.
Yeah. Like that's another art right there too. It's you got them hooked. The narrative is there. Like, what do you do at the end? Like, how do you close out the story?
But I think that does become like a little bit how the in-person experience then translates into a digital experience potentially too, right?
Yeah.
And then thereafter. But the one thing I was going to say was it goes back to the unexpected, because there's something about the unexpected, because Bryan, you said it, Bryan R. But at some point, our expectations are so high as consumers that like, when are we going to be like, what's unexpected? And I don't think we can answer that right now, but I do think that's a factor that we need to think about as far as like, okay, like unexpected can maybe only last for so long, or do we just continue to push the envelope and push it further in the industry, and continue to do that as marketers, as creatives, as experienced creators, to make sure that there are always those unexpected moments.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. It's now time.
I feel like she's got a burst of energy now. Look out, Bryan, you're in trouble.
Okay. It's time to crank up the heat. You ready, Bryan?
Oh no.
Are you ready, Bryan?
Step by step in you in the hot seat now. It's hot seat. Come on and play.
Okay, we're going to go back to the buzzwords topic, and we're going to throw some at your way. So it's all tied to experience design, so all in your world. And you just tell us if you think it's legitimate or it's just hype. You can literally say just legitimate hype. You can, however you want to respond to it. You don't have to go into much detail, but I'm going to throw a few words at you and you let me know if they're legit or not. Phygital.
I hate it, but it's legit. I just hate the combination of the two words.
It sounds ridiculous, but I agree with you. I think it is.
I thought it was gone, to be honest with you. I'm like, I used to say it a million years ago. I thought it wasn't a thing anymore. Okay.
No, someone needs to put a bullet in it. It just.
Okay, I got it. A metaverse.
Oh, it's hyped. I did
Is it still around?
I don't know. Are we in it?
I don't even know. It's like a couple of years ago, I did a panel conversation about this at Infocom, and we talked about this, and we were like all like hyped up on it, and now like we just, whenever we see each other, it was on it. Like we talk about it and like, oh, what were we thinking at the time? It is gone. It was a short-lived moment.
I will say it was kind of a cool moment, but I think what ended up happening was I think brands had a really difficult time trying to figure out how to connect to that audience, right? And make it like from the initial moment carry on. So, I mean, I still am amazed that the term is even around. I just feel like it's gone.
I think it was a COVID buzzword. I think people were stuck at home. They were so bored. They're like, I need something else to do, please help
We
me.
just said we were all in the metaverse at that point, if that's what you want to call it.
Yeah.
Okay, next one, authenticity.
It's legit. I think it's the corner, like we talked before. It's what people are striving for when they create these experiences. So.
Okay, personalization.
Yeah, legit too. I think with AI coming into play, it's helping with personalization of content and taking all those data sources that are already out there and really creating and delivering content tailored to you.
I think that could be a whole other topic for
I agree.
a podcast, because it's like to what extreme and all that. But yes, okay. And then last, emotional design.
Legit as well. Legit. I mean, we're all going. It's like everything we said before. It's like you're all going after that emotion. Like you want emotion to come out of your experience. You want that when you come out, and you want that wow. You want that tear. You want that happiness. You want all of that to come out from something.
I think it's probably one of the most difficult ones to achieve, though, at the same time, right? Because you have to be careful. You can push and pull on certain triggers, right? Only so far before, again, going back to authenticity, right? It starts to fall apart. So I do think it's a difficult one to be able to accomplish.
Yeah, agreed.
Bri, thank you so much for joining us today. Obviously, you guys do amazing work over at OpenEye Global, and we can't thank you enough for being here and sort of sharing with us sort of what you believe sort of makes that experience one where it resonates with audiences and one that actually helps brands have a better attachment to their customers. So thank you very much for being here.
Yes,
my pleasure. Thank you for having. This has been fun.
Thank you, Bryan. We really appreciate it. We can't wait to see you at InfoComm. I'll be looking out for my invite to the party that OpenEye is hosting that I haven't received yet.
It's on its way.
Wow.
It's on its way.
Put them on the spot.
No pressure.
All three listeners that we have.
You know where to find me on Wednesday of InfoComm.
No, Laura, I think that was a really, really cool episode for a lot of reasons, right? I think, we all are around terms that we hear every single day, right? And experience is one that even you and I have questioned. Like we ask the teams all the time, like, what do you mean by that? What exactly is that? What are we trying to achieve and accomplish through experience? And make sure that we're not taking it for granted and just using it as a word because it's one that's a buzzword that's out there. So I know for me, like sort of some of the things that we talked about those unexpected moments, right? Things like the storytelling and uniqueness and all of those things, I think were really key. And I think things that brands should really be thinking about and laser focused on when they're trying to create those experiences.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like with Bryan, like we're so used to working with him as he's creating our content experiences for some of our shows. And it's just, we see it through that lens, but his eyes and his vision is all, every experience he encounters, probably he's trying to see how it comes to life. And I just think getting his perspective was really interesting. And I also think, like I said, we could probably have 2 to 3 other podcasts just about personalization or experiences or the expected or unexpected. So I just think it really kind of opened the door for even further conversations in the world we live in every day. But sometimes we don't take that moment to just talk about it and try to get different perspectives. So it was good to talk to him in this way and not just on the everyday that we're talking with him.
Yeah, and I think there's 2 things for me that one's positive, one's negative, right? I walk away from this with a positive, and that is metaverse is dead, right? I think the negative is phygital is here to stay.
It better be. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. Most importantly, if you like what you heard today, be sure to follow us. And you can find Bryan on LinkedIn, and you can find his company on OpenEyeGlobal.com.